Okay, so we're gonna be putting on new bearings on this motor or on this armature and stuff and whatever on this Thunderbolt chopper. So right here we got the new bearings. I'll put the listings and stuff down in the description below for all this stuff. New brushes. So yeah, there's that. Also in this process you will need a 3-inch puller. So there's that. If you hear a fan, it's obviously really hot in here. It's like 90 outside, so it's really hot in this garage. But anyways, long story short, this is also going in the main Thunderbolt restoration video, but this is also going to be uploaded as its own separate video to showcase how to replace Thunderbolt bearings and brushes. Keep in mind, I have never done this before, so we are going to learn together. So, what you want to start doing is taking the brushes out. Most important thing, obviously. Because you don't want to damage the brushes, obviously. And then you want to get this off. So this is hard to get off on mine. Okay, so first things first. What you want to do is get this chopper cap off. Now, what you want to use is a 7/16 socket wrench. Now, after you got those off, which those came out with ease, just want to take this, just pull up. There you go. And now you have your 4-5 chopper out, or just your chopper out. So, it just kind of spins. I don't recommend spinning that, obviously. Now, what you want to do is get 2 paint cans, and you want to set them next to each other. Set it between both of them. What you do is you take flathead or Phillips. Phillips might be the best way to go. Stick it, oh, well, I don't have a small enough Phillips, but I'll just use this. Stick it in the hole, you hammer it down very lightly. Not too heavy. Not too heavy on it. There we go. Now, what you can do is move the motor, move your paint cans, or whatever you have to prop it up like that. And there you go. You have your 4-5 rotor out. You can set that off to the side. So yeah. There is this. Don't grab it by that, please. Don't grab it by any of this. But yeah. Now that you have your chopper out, this looks amazing. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. Let it sit in here for now. Spin's nice, but replacing them anyways. Even no matter how good they might look, they'll still be replaced. So, what you want to do, let me do this. What you want to do is to get this C-clip off. That's on the top of the bearing. That's what prevents the bearing from coming off. You can hear me? Oh shit. No, you fucker. I literally almost had it. What the fuck? It worked out. I just landed on my arm. Hey, but I got the C-clip off. That's awesome. Now, long story short, what you want to do, grab your bearings puller, place it on top of here, where it lines up with this hole, obviously. You're going to make sure you have enough length on your puller to where you can grip onto the bearing. Make sure it's not like crooked or anything. It's on there nice and even. So you don't want to mess anything up. Okay, now that you have your puller off, it's very crooked. You don't want that. just put it in here for stability. There we go. That's all better. A little hard to get this on. Just tightening this puller a bit. Just so it doesn't slip around as much. Alright, so what you do, you get 9/16 is twist it off. Wrong way. Don't do that. And just like that, you have your first set of bearings off. Whew, these bearings are in terrible shape. Probably because I just bent them all to crap. But yeah, now they don't spin anymore. But here are the old bearings. Focus, please. There we go. Old bearings. They don't look the best, but that's why we got these new ones, so we can replace them. Now, putting the new one on, what you do is just take it out of its packaging, of course. It's always the first thing you gotta do. I think I've already opened this one. No, I haven't opened this one yet. The other one I've opened already, but take your bearing, you set it on top, hammer it down with your own little hand, and you call it a day. Thumbs up, you're done. No, I'm just kidding. What you do, if I can find one here. grab a decently long socket like this. And at first, you make sure it can go over this hole, just in case. So what you do, is make sure your bearing's good at first, obviously. This bearing is great. Brand new, straight out of the box. Put it on there. Make sure it's level as much as you can. Put this on top and hammer it down. There you go. And now, your new bearing is on. Beautiful. Okay, now, it's time to do the other bearing, which is, actually, you have to find your C-clip first to put back on there, obviously. And I can just take this, put it on my needle nose pliers, pry it open a little bit, and then stick it on there. And I said stick it on there. Okay. Pry it open a bit more. Okay, this is going to be a pain to do, so bear with me. Yeah, so what you do is you drop it into the chopper cap and call it a day. Now, since you got it apart and got it back on, take your needle nose pliers again. Just do that. Just put it back together. Put it back on there. And make sure it has very little to no wiggle to it. And there you go. Your first bearing is done. Awesome. Now, time to do the second bearing. Flip this over. That spins nicely. Very smooth. Now, what you want to do is you somehow get this top thing off. You're going to figure out how to do that. Okay, so, get this off. There's these little metal things. You kind of have to pry off. Let me see if I have a smaller flathead to do this with. Go. Just keep in mind, yes, this is a little bit of a longer process to do the top one, but eventually it'll come out.
What do you know?
I don't know if I can get this one. I'm gonna have to. Slightly harder than anything else I've done with this thing. That's enough. I'm just pressing it against my chest for extra leverage. Oh wait, am I doing this the wrong way? Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I was doing this the wrong way. Oh, I am big dumb. Told you I'm not good with my lefts and rights. Thank you. Thank you. You just seen a good example of that. I'm doing this as hard as I can. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, long story short, don't do what I'm doing. Can't even see that. Good advice. That's your best friend with this. Don't do whatever this is. We're gonna blur that out. We're gonna censor that. Okay, unboxing. Vice unboxing. Oh look! It's a vice! Yay! Okay, cool. Now that's over. Let's put this on the table. Now that that's on the table, let's do this. Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing, y'all. Now you can see. Don't mind the mess. It's still easily cleaned up, but whatever. It's a workbench. What do you think? What do you expect? Okay, let me make sure this fits first. It should. Really, I should put a towel over it first before I do that. Just in case. Because I don't want to scratch anything. Last thing you want to do is scratch it. Just keep in mind, this is a learning process for everybody, including myself. Okay. Now that you got your towel, you just want to put it right here. Grab your chopper. Set it in. And what you do is you tighten your vise. Yeah, your vase. You're gonna tighten your vase. Not too tight. Not too tight. Just enough where it doesn't move. And I'm gonna swing the camera over here to the other side. Now that you can see the other side, let's try to get this off. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. I don't know my left from right. We're gonna just wing it. So, oh, it moves. Ooh, that's not good. I don't want that to do that. Okay. Ow. Ow, why is that a thing? My wrist popped out of socket for a second. How? Alright. It finally came loose. After a lot of work, got loose. It's a little rough, but got it. Yeah, see, this is what I mean by it's a little rough now, but oh well. You take this little doohickey off. Maybe. There we go. Take this little thing off. Now comes for the fun part. The part I've been waiting for. It's bearings time. Alright. Let's get the Thunderbolt chopper out of this grip. Because that was so much harder than it should have been. But whatever. It's done and over with. Make sure you look at this stuff. Make sure it's not damaged in any way. In this case, it's not. Which is great. Now, stick it in your chopper cap, and then basically you're going to do the exact same thing that you did with the first bearing. You'll take your 3-inch puller and just get your way under that bearing. Now, put your thing under this, under the spacer like this, and proceed as so. Put your doohickey up here, and you just twist off. There you go. You've successfully taken your second bearing off. This one's in a little better shape, but still being replaced. So yeah. Now, what you do, just get your second bearing, and you open this sucker up, set it on top, make sure it's nice and even, and then you find your socket that you used earlier. However fits over this. Find your socket. That's the longer socket. You take your hammer, you just gently tap the top of it. Not gently, but we'll put a little force behind it, but not too much. Just go until it stops. There you go. You've changed your top bearing as well. Now, what you do is you take this thing, put it back on first. Take my gloves off for this for more precision. Put this on first. It should line up with the groove that's in the top right here. Here, let me show you. Zoom this in. As you can see, there's a small groove right there up top. You can see it pretty well. And there's also this small groove in this little thing right here. It's right there. What you do is you put it in like this, you hook it in, and push down. There you go. That's how you put that back on. Now as for putting this thing back on, what you do is just put it on top, just twist it on. Make sure you put a little WD-40 or something on it first before you put it on. Just to make sure you won't have trouble taking it back off next time. And now, with a little WD-40 on, you should be able to. You want to grab your channel locks. Wherever I put mine, right here. Your channel locks. Make sure this top part is on tight. There you go. And then now what you do is you take these little metal pieces that are all around that you pried down earlier, just put them back up. Might be a little hard to do, but it should go back up. Need a little bit smaller of a screwdriver. Yeah, this will be fine. Okay, now, once you ensure all those back up, I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and just make sure they're all pretty tight up there. Just go around and just clamp them down. Okay, now that you've successfully done that, you have changed your top bearing. Congratulations, you have changed your bearings for your Thunderbolt chopper. Now, time for reassembly. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Set this. Let me zoom out a little bit. Matter of fact, let me set this down for a second. Zoom out. And clear out this gunk in this chopper cap. Now, eventually, I'll have to take this chopper cap back off and redo the paint because, you know, although this paint looks very cool, I think I have enough pictures and video of it to say, I need this gone. I need this paint off of here because I am so annoyed of it. I'm annoyed at this yellow. What color am I going to do next? What color am I going to paint this thing? We'll find out later. Now you got all the crud out of your chopper cap. Time to put this back together. Let's do that. Careful. Can get your hands. It's done that to me before, where I have gotten my finger caught in between there and got a blood blister. That was not fun. But anyways, what you do, line up these holes. Turn it inside. You stick your screw into one of the chopper caps, or in one of the holes. Stick your hand in the other side and make sure that little spacer in between there that you saw before is lined up. Now, this might be a little tricky, but you can do it. It's not terribly hard. And then you find your socket that I have misplaced, of course. Here we go. Take a 9/16, and remember, you don't want to tighten this first one all the way. You always want to do it corner to corner. So, you want to tighten it a little bit, not all the way. Just to make sure it'll stay. Now after you have that, let me flip this around so y'all can see. After you have one screw in, take another one, put it to the opposite side. And tighten that one a little bit. Now in this case, yeah, I gotta put my hand back into there and try to align it. Okay, now what you want, now once you've gotten to this point, then the other two should be easy. Go ahead and tighten those a bit. Now that all 4 screws on the top are tightened, now that you want to do, set it up. Make sure it spins. Which in this case, it spins perfectly. Now, let's put the motor back on. Remember, 2 holes that are close to each other. Everybody knows this. They line up with these holes on the motor. You want to easily set it down, trying not to scratch anything. Once you get to about this point, it's going to stop. Sometimes you got to set it on the floor to get as much leverage as you can. Just put your hand here and just push down as hard as you can, just to get that chopper onto the bearing, or the motor onto the bearing. So give me a second. Okay, now that once you've done that, put a couple of pins in. You always want to make sure before you run your Thunderbolt to have at least 2 of the pins in. The more pins, you have all of your pins, that's the best thing you can do. But in the case of quickly testing it, 2 of the pins can be fine. I'm not putting these pins in the wrong way. It's not really the wrong way to put in pins, but there's also wrong holes you can put pins in. For testing purposes, I'm only putting 2 in for right now. Okay. Now, for the last part, the fun part, the second fun part, is brushes replacement. Now, to replace your brushes that you so gracefully got from Amazon. Thanks, Amazon, for having these brushes. These are the same brushes for Thunderbolts. That's all I'm saying. So, here's a new brush compared to the old brush. You can see how much, that's like half the size. Oh my goodness. Yeah, these brushes are pretty worn. So, these new ones, hand. So, if you put your brush in, you might realize, oh shoot, the spring is too big. The spring is definitely too big for this brush holder. So, to fix that, you gotta be pretty patient with this. You have to take these newer springs off. What you do is just basically twist them. These springs you don't need anymore, because you're going to be using these older springs. Keep these. You need these springs. Now these springs might be a little hard to get off at times. Or the first time I did this was pretty hard to get off. Just gotta get it at the right angle and just work your magic. Alright, now that you got it to this point, you just twist it off like you did your old spring. Or newer quote-unquote spring. And yes, your hands will get dirty. During this entire process, if you ever stop and take a break, always wash your hands. You never want to keep this stuff on your hands. Now, you don't need that brush anymore. Because now you have this new brush. New shiny brush. What you want to do, you want to get the spring on there. Like so. I'm going to get this little lip on there. Or the end of the spring, I guess. Make sure it goes around the copper. And then, voila. You just keep twisting until it's all the way on there. You might get to a point where it starts twisting itself. Just keep going. Now it might be a little loose, so you have to pull the spring back a little bit. Turn the brush. Just so it tightens back up a little bit. Don't want to do it too much because you will break this part off. That's not that big of a deal, but it can happen. And then what you want to do, put your brush in the holder. Now there's a specific way these brushes can go in, or has to go in. Now this way is the correct way, because as you can see, there's no gap. And yeah, you still have to seat the brushes and whatnot, but if you put them in the other way, you can tell that they won't sit properly. It doesn't sit up there on there as nice, but you just gotta find the way where it sits on there as flat as it can. And from there, just push it in there. Spring and everything. Sometimes you have to twist this part just to get it a little bit tighter. Okay, now just cram it in there. Should sit in there flush. Now you get your brush cap and you do that. There you go. You have one brush done successfully. Basically, for the second brush, you just repeat that same process. So, yeah. There you go. The brushes are now in. So, brush seating. I don't have the proper tools to do brush seating at the moment, so for right now, I'm just going to run it up a little bit on 120 just to growl it. Just to see if it's any sorts of better than it was. What you do, you can take like very, very fine sandpaper and just kind of put it onto the metal or the copper, clean off any of the stuff on it, and let that go for a couple of minutes. That'll clear them right up. But for right now, let's just growl it. It sounds a little better, definitely. Quite a bit better. let's go ahead and put all the pins in. Just to be safe. Alright, there you go. All the pins are in. So, let's give her a good run up and see how it does. Here's a full test before the bearings and brushes replacement. So, I'm just going to run it up here for a very short amount of time and then replace the bearings and do all that. So, yeah. Still sounds nice, but could sound nicer. This is a test after the bearings and brushes replacement. So, here's nothing. Ooh, that thing sounds great. Okay, so, probably wondering, how do you seat your brand new brushes that you just installed? Well, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what you need. Technically, this is not the proper way to do it. This is how I've done it, and had pretty good results. What I do is take extra fine sandpaper, because you don't want to scratch anything up. Take it and get a good piece, you know, good piece or so. Technically, you're supposed to be using a brush seater, but I don't have one of those, so I'm just gonna use what I got. What you do is also, if you don't want to hear it, you put tape over the chopper ports. So, there's that. So let's go ahead and zoom this back in to where it was. So now you can see that this. What you do is take your sandpaper and put your, if you have a variac, put your chopper or put the voltage down pretty low. If you don't have a variac, just run it up on 120, but don't touch it while it's running, just in case of risks of shocking or anything. So I'm gonna run it up a little bit. Take your sandpaper. And just clean them off. Look how nice those look now. you have it on a low enough voltage, then you can like go ahead and like put your sandpaper on it while it's like this. You don't want to do it too much. And you want to get it to about a good pitch and let it run for about a minute or so, minute to 3 minutes, just so the brushes can wear into its right proper position. See me waving. You want to give it a break every now and then too, obviously, because you don't want to like overheat your motor or anything. This is probably the best way to seat your brushes and to break in those new bearings too. So just do a good little bump. But yeah, you just keep doing that over time and just do that a couple of times over, I guess, a span of an hour or so or whatever, and brushes and stuff will break right in and be good for the motor. And there you go. That's how you seat your brushes and, you know, have your new bearings going and stuff. So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on how to place your chopper bearings and brushes. So in case if anyone was confused, then yeah, feel free to ask any questions in the comments below. I can try to answer them as best as I can. This is my first time doing this. Not the brushes. I've done the brushes before. But as for the bearings, this is my first time doing this with the bearings. So hopefully I did well. Hopefully it's the proper way for everything. But yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below. And stay tuned for more Thunderbolt restoration stuff. This is the 4.5 with the new bearings and brushes. Just a full test. Now let's do it without the tape. Whew, that wind down is a lot better. Runs a lot better too.